BTC has more than doubled over the last year. Now these are impressive gains, but they pale in comparison to the 1000x gains that have been seen by some BRC20s and Ordinals NFTs.
Holy guacamole!
With the spot Bitcoin ETF FOMO at full throttle, it's likely that many more cryptos in Bitcoin's ecosystem will see astronomical gains in the near future. That's why today we're going to summarize a report on Bitcoin's emerging ecosystem and identify some of the niches that could explode in the coming months. So, if you want to know where these assets are, you're going to want to watch the whole way through. The report we'll be summarizing today is titled, quote, State of Bitcoin 2023, Developments, Data, Insights, and the Future of BTC. It was published by a Bitcoin-focused Web3 firm called Thesis last month, and we'll leave a link to the full report in the description if you're interested. Now, the report begins with a brief overview where the authors recount how significant 2023 was for Bitcoin. They note that there's been serious innovation on Bitcoin, and not just BRC20s and Ordinals NFTs. The Lightning Network and decentralized social media like Nostr saw significant innovation as well. Not only that, but there's even been innovation around Bitcoin gaming by projects like Zebedee and BTC cashback incentives by companies like Fold. The key takeaway, the authors say, is that there are more builders and more use cases emerging on Bitcoin, and that is bullish for BTC. However, the authors also caution that, quote, Bitcoin cannot compromise on its commitment to decentralization, the ultimate hedge in a digital future where control, censorship, and manipulation are constant threats. Now, we take this as a reference to central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, and you can learn more about the difference between crypto and CBDCs using the link in the description. I digress. Now, in the first part of the report, the authors look at some eye-opening on-chain statistics. For starters, the number of Bitcoin wallets holding between 0.01 BTC and 0.1 BTC has skyrocketed over the last year. The authors take this as evidence that the average retail investor is starting to understand BTC's value. At the same time, wallets holding more than 100 BTC have continued to stack sats as well. What's interesting is that the authors seem to imply that these wallets, which they classify as whales, have an outsized impact on BTC prices, with their trading activity directly affecting buying and selling in smaller wallets. Overall, though, the trend is clear. Investors of all kinds are accumulating BTC. And of course, the main place that people are buying BTC is on exchanges. The result is that the balance of BTC on exchanges continues to decline. As pointed out by the authors, this increases the volatility of BTC's price. What's fascinating is that the authors seem to imply that the low balance of BTC on exchanges creates an incentive for BTC whales not to sell. That's because if they try and sell when there's not much BTC on exchanges, they'll cause the BTC price to crash a lot, resulting in much smaller realized gains. The authors explain that the restriction in BTC supply sets the stage for the next bull market, but they note that other ingredients are required as well. These include, quote, expanding mainstream and institutional participation. We've seen no shortage of this since the spot Bitcoin ETF applications. Note that you can find out how high BTC could go when a spot Bitcoin ETF is approved using the link in the description. And while you're at it, why not smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far? Now, in the second part of the report, the authors pivot to analyzing Bitcoin's scalability. They start by saying that there are multiple different ways of scaling Bitcoin. These include payment channels like the aforementioned Lightning Network, as well as sidechains such as RSK and Stacks. The authors also go into detail on Sovereign and Starkware, both of which use ZK rollups to scale Bitcoin. Now, without getting too technical, ZK rollups effectively involve processing BTC transactions on a sidechain and then submitting these transactions as a bundle to the Bitcoin main chain as a single transaction, hence rollup. As you might have guessed, scaling solutions which use ZK rollups and similar technologies are often quite centralized. If you watched our video about Coinbase's Layer 2 on Ethereum, called Base, You'll know this is because most Layer 2s use a single centralized sequencer to order transactions. The authors underscore the fact that this is incompatible with Bitcoin's decentralized ethos, which is why there's a push to decentralize the sequencer layer on its Layer 2s. The authors note the different ways this can be done, and I'll quickly note that the same is starting to be done for Ethereum's Layer 2s. Anyway, the authors then go on to explain how RSK and stacks work. RSK uses merge mining to create a blockchain that runs parallel to Bitcoin. For those unfamiliar, merge mining is a technology that makes it possible to secure and mine two cryptos at the same time without additional energy. As a fun fact, Doge is merge mined with LTC. Dogecoin and Litecoin are literally merged at the hip. Now, in RSK's case, the authors reveal that there's been hesitation by Bitcoin miners to support the RSK network. This is simply because it's not worth the hassle, because RSK's adoption has been low. This is due to a lack of user-friendly interfaces, which are now being introduced. As for stacks, the authors don't explain how it works. Instead, they focus on applauding the project for having pumped so much over the last year. This is a bit odd, but it makes sense when you realize that Stacks was backed by a lot of crypto VCs, some of which may be affiliated with the authors. This would explain why the authors also highlight all of the technical improvements that have been made to Stacks and the simultaneous surge in developer experience it's seen. To their credit, the authors admit that most of STX's price action was due to pure speculation, not actual adoption.
Are you ready for deals? Are you ready for trading fee discounts? Are you ready to save some money? If the answer is yes, then you're ready for the Coin Bureau Deals page. Yes, Coin Bureau brings you the very best deals and promotions in all of crypto. You won't find offers like these anywhere else.
Discounts on the best hardware wallets! Exchange sign-up bonuses of up to $40,000! Trading fee discounts of up to 60%! Coin Bureau's brand new altcoin-focused subscription service! The Coin Bureau Deals page is even better for you than this piece of succulent, protein-rich, nutritious grilled chicken!
Head on over to coinbureau.com/deals or click the link in the description below. Don't delay. Check out the Coin Bureau Deals page today.
These deals are so hot, I need to cool down. Yeah! Whew.
Last but not least, the authors take a closer look at the Lightning Network. They note that as of the end of 2023, it contained over 5,400 BTC worth $230 million. For context, this is essentially the amount of BTC that can be transacted on the network. It must be locked up in multisigs to be used on the Layer 2. And it's not just the amount of BTC locked that's been growing either. The authors note that there are now over 70 Lightning Network-enabled wallets, though it's not entirely clear how many of these wallets emerged over the last 12 months. Regardless, it is clear that the Layer 2 has been growing exponentially. As always, this exponential growth has come with its fair share of issues. One of these has been an apparent increase in centralization. That's because the number of Lightning Network channels has been decreasing, while the number of BTC locked on the Layer 2 has been increasing. If you watched our video about the Lightning Network, you'll know that these channels could someday become points of centralization, with each channel acting as a de facto financial intermediary. What's bizarre is that the authors do not raise this risk despite their focus on decentralization. In any case, after reviewing a few technical improvements that have been made to the Lightning Network and similar protocols, the authors switched to talking about Nostr, that decentralized social media app which leverages Bitcoin. They note that its BTC tipping feature now has over 50,000 users. They also note that another Bitcoin feature had to be paused due to overwhelming demand. They admit that this is simultaneously bullish and bearish. bullish because there's immense demand for Bitcoin-related features, but bearish because Bitcoin's Layer 2 infrastructure can't support it yet. Now, after praising Stripe for supporting BTC payments on the Lightning Network, the authors rotate to reviewing recent developments in BTC Custody. As you can imagine, many of these developments are extremely technical and therefore outside the scope of this video. That said, one of these developments has opened the door to MetaMask-like functionality on Bitcoin. For reference, MetaMask is the most popular wallet used to interact with dApps on Ethereum and other EVM blockchains. A new wallet layer on Bitcoin called RGB will make the same possible on Bitcoin. The authors also admit that the fact that 90% of Lightning Network transactions are taking place on custodial wallets is a problem. They say it reveals the need for better non-custodial solutions. It goes without saying that if you don't own the keys to your wallet, you don't truly own your crypto. And I'll quickly note that the Coin Bureau Deals page has the biggest discounts on the best hardware wallets, and you can find the link to that in the description. Anywho, in the third part of the report, the authors talk about Bitcoin's Ordinals. Now, we won't go through the background and the tech here for the sake of time. We also have a video dedicated to Bitcoin's Ordinals and BRC20s, which you can find in the description, and definitely watch it when you do have the time. Now, besides explaining the background and technology behind Ordinals, the authors showcase how explosive the growth of Ordinals and inscriptions has been by comparing them to NFT mints on other blockchains. As you can see, Bitcoin blows all the other layer 1s out of the water by a huge factor. The authors estimate that Ordinals NFTs saw almost $1 billion of trading volume in 2023, which is insane when you consider how much people have been paying for the associated transaction fees. What's unfortunate is that the authors don't explain why Ordinals NFTs are so popular. Well, in short, they're popular because Bitcoin is the most decentralized blockchain and has the longest track record. This theoretically makes it the ideal blockchain to host assets like NFTs. That's because it offers the highest guarantee that the NFT will still be there in 10 or 20 years when compared with other cryptos. Unfortunately, the authors practically provide a tutorial on how to mint your own Ordinals NFTs and even explain what's happening on-chain throughout the minting process. They also provide a list of wallets that support Ordinals NFTs, but seem to have missed the biggest one, the Unistat extension. Obviously, the authors spend quite a bit of time talking about the controversy around Ordinals NFTs as well. The TLDR is that some argue that they amount to an exploit of the blockchain, which is apparently correct from a purely technical perspective. However, they have also reignited the excitement around Bitcoin. Notably, the popularity of Ordinals NFTs has created a huge incentive to develop better Layer 2s on Bitcoin, which can be used for more practical things such as payments. The trade-off is that it could do serious damage to the fungibility of BTC and create other privacy issues that have yet to emerge. Now, the authors also spend quite a bit of time talking about BRC20s, and I'll repeat that we have a video dedicated to those, so we won't go into too much detail here. All we'll say is that the price action of BRC20s is apparently being heavily driven by Ordi, the first and largest BRC20 token by market cap. This is worth noting because it means that if you want to trade BRC20s, you need to watch what Ordi is doing. To put things into perspective, almost 500,000 BRC20 tokens launched on Bitcoin just in November 2023. It's safe to assume that Ordi won't be the only one that hits a $1 billion market cap. The authors applaud the unprecedented growth of BRC20s as setting the stage for a whole host of use cases, namely those related to DeFi. It's safe to assume that any BRC20 projects that are creating things like DEXs and lending and borrowing protocols will do well. Not financial advice, do your research. Now, in the fourth part of the report, the authors talk about a relatively new development on Bitcoin, and that's Taproot Assets. As the name suggests, Taproot Assets make it possible to create new assets on Bitcoin, similar to Ordinals and BRC20s. The difference is that these assets are compatible with Layer 2s. The authors stress that this has the potential to turn Bitcoin into a multi-asset network that can scale, and go on to explain the science behind how Taproot Assets make this possible. What's funny is that even the authors note that this process is technical to the point that they don't give much detail. Instead, they basically say what I did just now. Taproot Assets are like Ordinals or BRC20s, but much better. In addition to being compatible with Layer 2s, Taproot Assets shouldn't cause transaction fees to spike as much on Bitcoin due to the way they're designed. There are also only 65,000 assets so far. The authors foreshadow the creation of Bitcoin native stablecoins, which could serve as the backbone of its up-and-coming DeFi ecosystem. What's alarming is that they seem to suggest that these stablecoins could be backed by USDC, a centralized stablecoin that exists on other blockchains. Probably nothing. You can learn more about Circle's influence on the crypto industry using the link in the description, by the way. Moving on. Now, in the fifth part of the report, the authors cover so-called consumer-facing Bitcoin applications, all the stuff that people use to interact with the Bitcoin blockchain and BTC, the coin. Naturally, the authors begin by talking about crypto exchanges before going on to talk about cards that offer BTC cashback. This part of the report is practically a catalogue of all the different products and services that leverage BTC. It's a long list that we won't get into for the sake of time, but it is one that's worth checking out if you're interested in adding more BTC to your life, including paying your bills in BTC instead of fiat. Not sure why anyone would spend an appreciating asset, but hey, each to their own. And what's awesome is that the authors even mention a few Bitcoin wallets that offer privacy, but you should know that not all of these wallets are created equal. You can check out our recent video about Bitcoin censorship if you want to know what I'm referring to. Anyhow, in the sixth part of the report, the authors explore, quote, bringing Bitcoin the asset beyond Bitcoin the network. If you're wondering what this means, the authors start with a groundbreaking example, BTC staking. This involves locking BTC on Bitcoin to secure an external proof-of-stake chain. Now, this is more significant than you think because this method means that bridging BTC is not necessary. It simultaneously allows BTC holders to earn a yield on their holdings, something that institutional investors absolutely love. Newsflash, yields are why institutional investors love Ethereum's proof-of-stake so much. This truly revolutionary technology is brought to you by a crypto project called Babylon, and it foreshadows a future wherein proof-of-stake blockchains, like Ethereum, are secured by BTC. Some would say that this is inevitable if BTC becomes one of the world's reserve currencies, on a par with the USD. But back to bridging BTC. For the time being, BTC bridging continues to be the primary way that people use BTC outside of the Bitcoin blockchain. The authors go through a few examples of Bitcoin bridging protocols and their rising popularity, something expected given BTC's safe haven status within crypto. The seventh part of the report is about the spot Bitcoin ETF, which has been front and center over the last few months and will likely continue to be for the foreseeable future. The authors seem to make a tongue-in-cheek comment about the SEC cracking down on alts but giving BTC a pass. They then go on to review the pros and cons of this historic milestone, namely the fact that BTC's price will go up, but that it could also be captured by institutions. The authors argue that the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF won't put BTC the asset at risk and fall over themselves to explain the price potential. They also argue that institutional investors now see BTC as a store of value and not a risk asset. They cite the comments by BlackRock CEO Larry Fink of BTC's pump being a, quote, flight to quality as evidence. If you've been keeping up with the channel, however, you'll know BTC could still be seen as a risk asset. And to be fair, the authors acknowledge this as well. Quote, institutional investors have taken a more cautious approach, with some choosing to reduce exposure to Bitcoin as an asset class. So, although it is gaining traction, the institutional sphere has yet to fully accept the idea of BTC as a form of digital gold. In practical terms, this means that BTC may become more correlated to other risk assets, such as tech stocks, when the spot Bitcoin ETF is approved. That's because most institutions will likely lump BTC into the same basket as these other risk assets. This could delay BTC's transition to becoming a truly digital gold. In the final part of the report, the authors discuss another nascent Bitcoin technology, and that's the so-called Bitcoin virtual machine, or BitVM. Logically, the BitVM will make it possible to increase Bitcoin's smart contract functionality, putting it in more direct competition with other virtual machine cryptos like Ethereum. Now, the BitVM was proposed by a Bitcoin developer named Robin Linus, and it is effectively a special kind of roll-up technology that includes smart contract functionality. The biggest benefit of the BitVM is that it doesn't require a soft fork to implement. It could be easily implemented as Bitcoin exists today. Although some are hailing the BitVM as, quote, the most exciting discovery in the history of Bitcoin script, others are skeptical about the unforeseen issues it could bring to Bitcoin. So far, though, it appears that the critics have no concrete evidence to justify their concerns. And this brings me to the big question, and that's where you can find the next moonshots in Bitcoin's ecosystem. The answer is in all of the technologies that were mentioned above: sidechains, apps that leverage the Lightning Network, DeFi protocols that leverage BRC20s, and so much more besides. Take a second to consider that Bitcoin's ecosystem appears to be at a similar stage to Ethereum's when it was getting started. What this means is that the highest quality crypto projects and protocols have yet to be discovered. In most cases, these crypto projects and protocols don't even exist yet. The good news is that if you pay attention to what's going on in Bitcoin's ecosystem, then you should be able to identify the next Ordi, the next NFT or BRC20 that could 1000x. The bad news is that this research isn't very easy to do, and interacting with these technologies is still objectively difficult. The silver lining, though, is that if you can stomach the user experience on these early Bitcoin dApps and protocols, then you'll be perfectly positioned to profit. In a weird way, you'll be an early adopter of Bitcoin, even though BTC has been around for 15 years. However, it seems that the growth of Bitcoin's ecosystem has only just begun. That means that you have a second chance to be like those early BTC holders, to get your hands dirty, to get involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and to make untold amounts of money in the coming years. All you must do is put in the work. And that, folks, is all for today's video. So if you learned something new, smash that like button to let us know. If you want to keep learning, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. If you want to help others learn, take a second to share this video with them. And whether you're stacking sats or trading coins, the Coin Bureau Deals page has something for you. It's got trading fee discounts of up to 60%, along with sign-up bonuses of up to $40,000 on the best crypto exchanges, only for the viewers of this channel. Again, the link is down in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Guy, signing off.